I better sit up straight.
All right, welcome everybody. You are back with another episode of Boss Up with BBI, and I am your host, Jice Johnson. We are back off of our hiatus, so this is the first podcast that we have done in about a month, but we're excited to be back, and I have a special guest with me. I have Mr. Thomas TJ Loftin here, and he has his sign up in the back, but I'm going to show you his book here, Monetizing Gentrification. So we're going to jump into this conversation, but before we do, I would love if you would go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share this information out, let people know what we are here talking about, which, by the way, we're talking about money and mindset in the Black community. And so with that being said, we are going to jump right on in, and I'm going to let Mr. TJ here introduce himself and make sure that he talks a little bit about his book, and then we're going to start talking about this gentrification situation. All right.
Okay, my name is Thomas TJ Loftin. I grew up in Compton, California. I'm a retired celebrity car builder. Shout out to John Singleton. First movie I ever put a lowrider in, by the way. Rest in peace, good brother. Good guy for the lowrider movement. Helped the Black entrepreneurs in a major way. I traveled the nation in 2018, hit 15 states with intentions of hitting 25 to follow the gentrification, see what's going on, what are people doing with their money, what happens when a large amount of people move to out of state and where are they going. How are the states receiving them? You know, being a developer, ex-real estate agent, ex-real estate mortgage broker, you know, own businesses in both of those fields, built a lot of houses, owned a lot of doors in my life. I truly understand real estate. So that opened the door for me to travel to find out what was going on. Once I did find out what was going on, it was mind-boggling for a developer and as well as the rest of my friends that I told what was going on. And I ended up having to write a book about it because I felt like people need to know what's going on as well as not just see it. Most people see things, don't even recognize, don't understand it, but they don't understand the problem that this is going to cause. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like a woodpecker pecking on a tree every day consistently, and we thinking how cute that woodpecker is. But 20 years from now, that tree topples over and knocks over half the block, and people are like, wow. We can't believe that woodpecker did that. You know, so I wrote the book because I saw gentrification as that woodpecker, but now that woodpecker has turned into a team of woodpeckers, if that makes sense. So yeah, I wrote the book so that people can not only recognize gentrification, but can learn how to make money off of it. You know, so I spoke on a lot of different strategies in real estate investments. This looks like an investment. This is an investment. This is not an investment. This is a distraction. You know, so I wrote the book. I do coaching, consulting. I do real estate investment trainings, etc.
Got you. So let me ask you a question. Have you found this, the idea of monetizing gentrification? You know, people often think of gentrification in kind of a negative sense, right? It's like displacing people, undervaluing, devaluing home properties, underfunding communities, keeping them, you know, kind of down or suppressing their ability to grow and be sustainable, and then coming in and basically revitalizing, and I say that for those of you on audio in my air quotations, revitalizing a community, you know, but basically by displacing the residents who have been there historically and things of that sort. So the idea to come around and monetize on that, have you received a lot of pushback on that concept?
A lot of people get offended by the word gentrification. I'm going to break it down real quick like you just did in a way. Gentrification is when people who don't look like us come in with large amounts of money and start paying off your local politicians to pull money out of the schools, don't fix the potholes, don't give business owners licenses, go after the businesses that are currently there, etc., so that we can come in and buy the land. Do not respond to police phone calls, send in crime to create the crime, to pull down the property values. But with Jay-Z made a mistake, which most people don't understand gentrification. It's become a buzzword. Everybody's using it, so let me use it too. So what Jay-Z should have said is, we can redevelop our own communities. Black people don't gentrify each other. Black people redevelop our own communities. So gentrification, another step is when someone comes in and says, I want to evict all those people out of that apartment building at $800 a month because I want to raise the rent to $8,000 a month. That's gentrification. Mm-hmm. Me personally, if I own an apartment building and one of my tenants move out and I go in there and drop $15K to restore it and update it, and then I decide I no longer want 800, I want 3,000, that's redevelopment.
Okay. So let's talk about it. Let's get into it. And I want to start off by asking that because, like you said, you know, when you say gentrification, it is that buzzword. It is that thing that kind of catches people's attention. And oftentimes what I hear that, you know, I struggle with is this idea that monetizing something or making money, you know, is this like, it's this bad thing, right? And so that's part of why this podcast really, you know, hits to or aims to address mindset in addition to money, because a significant amount of the issues that we face, actually, let me backtrack that. All of the issues that we face in the Black community can be directly tied to the economic exclusion that we are currently in. And so if we struggle to make money when there's money to be made, and if we are not even comfortable with making money when there's money to be made, I think that that's a mindset shift that we have to make. And so to me, you know, when I picked this up, I was like, ooh, he said monetizing gentrification. Like, let me see, what is he talking about? Because that topic felt, you know, very controversial when us as a community, we don't really understand what that means. And we struggle to monetize on our knowledge and on our work product, our labor. We really struggle to monetize that. So let's dig in a little bit to some of the things that you talk about in here. And you also host some webinar series on this. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. Webinars, trainings. A lot of the stuff is at ThomasTJLoftin.com. YouTube as well. Please subscribe to that. All my social media is the same. But yes, I do a lot of webinars, trainings, Zoom trainings online, etc.
Okay, great. So definitely make sure that you head on over there and subscribe. And I'll also be dropping those links inside the description, so you can go ahead and click and make sure that you subscribe and get this information. So one of the things that I wanted to jump in and talk about, and, you know, as I told you when we were offline, like there may be specific areas that you want to address that, you know, our community needs to hear. And so definitely feel free to steer the conversation, you know, in any of those directions. So one, let me just kind of break down a little bit of the book. If you purchase this book, what you're going to find is that he talks about a variety of different areas and ways that you can go in and monetize in specific states, with things that are happening inside of those markets. So I think that's really helpful, especially if you live in a particular area or you're interested in a particular area. Like for me, I live in Denver, Colorado. I'm from Oakland, California. I have not been interested in, you know, in necessarily heading back to California to, work on any investments. That may change, but you know, I was kind of there as property values were rising, and I saw a lot of that struggle. And most of my adult friends cannot afford to live by themselves. Most of my adult friends are either in roommate situations or have dual incomes, and so I've never really been interested in heading back there. At least not at this stage of my money game. But I do have invested interest over in Detroit, where I was able to get in where things are still affordable. And so, you know, having a book that kind of lets you know about certain areas that you can go into and what opportunities may exist in that area is really helpful. But also kind of giving some of those underlying you know, pieces and things for us to think about. And so one of the things that I wanted to jump into was, first of all, let's talk about some distractions. Tell me, so in your book, you talk about cryptocurrency, stocks, MLM, gold, marijuana, all of these are distractions. Tell me about this. Why do you feel this way?
We are in a historical stage of real estate. Real estate has never before in history been so expensive. Okay. You know, all over the country, they're developing. Every state has money now. They're building new freeways in Alabama. They're building new highways from Georgia all the way to New York. They're building highways again from Georgia all the way up to widening the highways from Georgia all the way to Ohio. You know, they're pushing what is it called? Oakland, California, Palo Alto, the Silicon Valley has opened up a second edition called Silicon Beach here in LA. And they're driving real estate crazy around the country. So 90% of the people that I coach are college students, and they're coming to the table like, wow, I didn't know that. And their names are doctor, professor, and all of this. And I'm like, what are you learning there? If you don't know that the biggest money-making opportunity in life is in front of you and you don't recognize it, but you want to sit here and tell me about stocks. You want to tell me about, we better get on this Bitcoin train. And I'm sitting there looking like, this is sad. This is crazy. I mean, how could you not? It's like a hurricane is coming off of the coast and about to wipe out the whole country, and you're trying to sell me some Bitcoin? We need to be investing in wood, shelter, water, food, but you're telling me about stocks and bonds, and, you know, it's crazy. So I realized, like Lauryn Hill said, the miseducation. Yes, most of our people have been miseducated for a reason. Why would your enemy teach you how to be compatible with them, to compete? Why? Do you really think the people that have released you from slavery not too long ago, 400 years or something, wants to teach you how to be billionaires now, like them? They took us away from the labor and said, here, you guys get to go to school, get a good education, to be like us, and wear suits and ties and work in high rises, and you're making 40 to 60, 70, 80,000 is the large percentage of our college students, and the 1%ers make over 80. And that's a max of 150, 175, unless that's the 5 year. That's the 4 to 5 year range. No one that I really meet make over 175. 200 is excessive. Now, unless you're a specialist, an anesthesiologist, a brain surgeon, of course you're going to make the million. Mm-hmm. But my point is, most of those people are struggling now. The real estate is driving the market crazy, and the 4-year colleges are going to have to confess that they're not, that education alone, college alone is not enough. You have to make some investments.
Right. You won't get argument with me from there.
Yeah, you can. I'm not here to blast college. I'm just here to lay out the facts, because if we're going to start with some solutions, you have to know what the problem is. So you're going to spend $100,000 to $200,000, $300,000 on a degree that you can't find a job in. Right. You have to move all the way across the state, across the country to find affordable housing and a job, leaving your mom, your dad, your brothers, your sisters, and your 80-year-old parents, who's now they're being gentrified. You want them to walk away from a house that creates a generational legacy wealth here in Los Angeles that's going to be worth $2 or $3 million in the next 2 or 3 years, to go buy a house in Georgia that's only going to be worth $150,000 today and $300,000 in the next 10 years. I can go on and on.
So what is it that you suggest? Because this is the way that I've looked at things, is I feel like, I invest in real estate, and I encourage other people to invest in real estate. I also feel like, let's say, for example, one of the things that I have been working on is foreign exchange trading, right? And I have a little bit of cryptocurrency and things of that sort. And I agree that there are markets that are moving to remove the middleman. So when I look at cryptocurrency as an example, I look at cryptocurrency as the removal of the middleman, which is happening in a lot of places, right? Like the entire business model of Uber and Lyft, even of Amazon and things like that, are ways to remove these middlemen out of the way and kind of have this peer-to-peer type of model, right? So I think that, cryptocurrency being around for 10 years and just now, really starting to catch people's attention is once again an example of Black folks coming to the table late. And what happens if you learn to take that and then subsequently invest it inside of the real estate? Because as you mentioned, real estate is higher than it's ever been. So with us not earning enough, with us still having these pay gaps, with us still having these gaps in knowledge, where do we make up that ground in order to even afford the real estate?
Right now, it's best to start in the real estate. If you had, let's say, $5,000, you say, okay, that's not enough to buy a house with. I'm going to go buy some cryptocurrency. And then in 10 years, that cryptocurrency made you $1 million. Hypothetically speaking, that's largely exaggerated. You took that same $5,000 and bought a piece of land. In 10 years, that piece of land that wasn't worth anything, now Google, SpaceX, Mercedes-Benz, put a couple of sports domes around your land. Now your land is worth $100 million.
Okay.
That is common. That is more common. So let's say now you have $1 million because you bought cryptocurrency. That $1 million in 5 years will not work for you in LA. That'll be like a 4% deposit on something, which you want to need 40.
Right.
It is not going to be enough. We got in Compton, we got houses going for $500,000 and up. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the worst neighborhoods. Watts, California, Google just bought the Jordan Down projects. So in the next 4 or 5 years, they're going to have $6 million houses in Watts. And you coming in with $1 million, they're going to be like, no. You know what I'm saying? So we have to understand an investment. We have to. I said Bitcoin wasn't going to work when it first came out, and they was telling me about it. People everything's a pyramid, first of all. Those who get on early, they make money, and then boom, everybody else loses and have complaints. That was the same thing with Bitcoin. I said it wasn't going to work because y'all waited too late. People came in, made money, the rest lost everything, and Bitcoin crashed. Okay, but now they say, oh, well, we created some more. It's different ones now. Forget Bitcoin. Why would I forget something I told you wasn't going to work? Yes, it's a new model, but there's better models out here. So the European people are going to never want you to do what they're doing. So they're going to always throw out a distraction. So what is the distraction? The distraction is we don't want them looking at this real estate right now. So don't teach it in schools. We don't want them. So what we want you to teach is teach them about Bitcoin, teach them about stock markets, teach them about everything else. So we'll give them $1 million opportunity. I didn't say you wasn't going to make money off of Bitcoin or stocks, etc. But I said it's a distraction from the real money. So I'm not going to take my $5,000 and invest it in Bitcoin, knowing that real estate is in historical opportunities right now, knowing that homelessness is rampant around the country and going to continue to grow, full of college-educated people. So if college students are homeless, then what's happening to the rest of America? So we have to learn what an investment really looks like. So people are gathering up, rallying, TJ, let's invest in the medical marijuana. It's only going to be $500,000. I'm like, do you know what you can do with $500,000? You know, TJ, let's buy some stocks. We should all buy the block back. Okay, see, now that's what made me say, okay, let me explain business to you. See, I've been doing this for well over 35, 40 years with a business license by myself. Now, that's not talking about the other 15 when I was being coached by millionaires and billionaires, very successful people, my whole life. So all my money people are all buying real estate. When I'm sitting around millionaires and billionaires, that we're not talking about Bitcoin. We're not talking about stocks and things like that. We're talking about buying plots of land, building strip malls, and starting businesses and building tracts of houses. Mm-hmm. This is the millionaire billionaire conversation. But when I go back into my neighborhood, to the community, and talk to my everyday 9-to-5 people with master's degrees, college, whatever, any type of anything, we're talking about Bitcoin, stocks, and bonds. And boy, they're very, very adamant about, I'm looking stupid. If I don't buy into Bitcoin, you're stupid, TJ. And I'm like thinking like, wow, that's not what my billionaire buddy just told me, you know? Okay. So leave that right there. And then I think it was Bill Gates' son recently said the college motto was old. In a couple years, it'll be done. Yeah. So we have to pay attention to things like that. When the billionaire says, hey, the college motto is on, TJ has TJ's Wealth Academy doing online training. TJ is a guy who pioneered the lowriding industry, and he's teaching classes.
Right.
And so forth and so on. Why would you go?
I like that because that is what the Black Business Initiative does. We teach classes. So you're bringing up a good point. There are two things I want to go back and touch on. So because I do want to come back around to the school thing because, you know, as I mentioned offline, like I am not an advocate for the college. And I say that with having my 2 degrees. And I'm actually, you know, I'm excited because I'm kind of laying out some places and kind of laying out this track, because I'm going to go through my journey at some point in detail around why I'm not a college advocate despite having these degrees that are actually still rolled up and sitting somewhere collecting dust. They are not up on my walls. And some of the, turmoil that this has caused me in the process of trying to grow and build and amass wealth. But also, again, Black folks is always late to the table because, he's not the only rich white person who has said that the college model is not where we need to be going, right? It's this overpriced, it's an overpriced situation that isn't necessarily valid in today's society. And yet we still have this huge push in the Black community towards college. So I want to come back around to that. But but you mentioned a couple times saying we have to know what an investment looks like. Tell me what an investment looks like.
Okay, investments are seasonal. If this was back in the days, I would have said, oh, buy some Bitcoin. It just came out yesterday. Buy some. It's good to have. Only put about 500 in it. Let's see what happens. But when the real estate market really wasn't where it was. Real estate is the best thing going. That's why they call it real estate. Okay. It is the only real thing out there that you can take and buy some real estate, set it there, walk away from it for 5 or 10 years, and come back. It's still going to be worth some money. If not 100 or 1,000 times more than what you paid for it. Yes, it'll go up and down, but you don't have to worry about just losing it all together if you made the right model. Nothing else is like that. I can't buy some stock and walk away. It'll be broke tomorrow morning. It depends on what it is. So real estate is taking turns. So I figure for the next 30 to 40 years, real estate is going to be the primary. Real estate and business ownership is going to be the primary investments, meaning they're building tracts of homes all over America in the middle of nowhere. They're pushing further out. They're pushing LA further out. Like I meant to say earlier, California is not expensive. LA County, Oakland County is expensive, but there's still plenty of counties that's not expensive right now. You can go to Inland Empire. I just spoke there recently to bring awareness to that area, Kern County. You can go to Inland Empire and buy houses in Hemet for $150,000. Yes, it's over 2 hours away from LA, but guess what? All the jobs are moving out further anyway, so you don't need to be in LA after a while. Mm-hmm. So now you got housing tracts popping up all over the country on the outskirts. So that means, just like back in the days, I'll use myself as an example. I noticed when I was in Los Angeles, I pioneered lowriding here, and so many people had lowrider shops to the point it was like, okay, it's a lot of money being made, but if I move further out into Palmdale, California, where there's no lowrider shops, I'll be the only one there. Mm-hmm. That was the best move I ever made. Best move I ever made. So what's going on now is they're building housing tracts on the outskirts of the cities with no businesses. They're food deserts. They're business deserts. It's opened the door for you to go out there and open up anything with Black practices. Black hair, Black barber, Black supplies, Black automotive, car parts, transmission, muffler, hydraulics, auto body, food, you name it, they need it. Anything that you would want to drive back to LA to go get. So I tell people, we got to be able to recognize an opportunity. I love when people complain and say, man, I hate being in Palmdale. There's no Black food out here. Oh, really? Like what? What are you looking for? I want some Black vegan foods. I want some soul food. My mind is programmed to think, which one of my friends can I convince to open up a second location out here that I can put up the money and we partner with? That excites me. That everybody who will drive back. I used to drive from Palmdale an hour and a half to LA to go get some good food back in the days, until I finally convinced some of my buddies to open up in Palmdale.
Gotcha.
And I said, here's 4 locations you can open up 4 different stores.
So with, because I think about trends in markets and things of that sort, and I don't know if you analyze, how you analyze the market, or if that's something necessarily that you do. So if it's not, I don't want to put you on the spot, but just thinking about as prices.
I am the analyzer.
Say that again.
I am the analyzer. I'm a living analyzer. I just look and I see.
So as things continue to rise, what my fear is, and again, like I'm invested in real estate. I'm actually working on my first development project on some land that I have out in Michigan, and that in and of itself has been we haven't even broke ground. We just bought the dirt, right? So we got the dirt.
I love it. Congratulations.
Huh?
Congratulations. I love it.
Thank you. Look, and we're trying to figure it out as we go, right? Because we're not, this is me and my partner. This is our first time being here. So our real estate experience has typically been on the landlord side. And then he has some fix and flip experience. I do not have any fix and flip experience. I've only bought and held and rented.
That's all you need right there. Buy and hold, sit and hold.
Buy and hold. And we have a few different developments going on because I also did buy land in Colorado, but I bought it a little bit south of Colorado with a group as well. And so, we're kind of looking at what to do with that land. We have about 70 acres there, and we have a few ideas around what to do with it. Largely around hemp is where we're headed. But so I'm in there, right? Like you're not going to get any disagreement from me on the value of purchasing. What my concern is, especially here in America with all these disparities, is okay. So you buy, you go and you build these tracts of homes, and yeah, you can raise the rent to $3,000, but who can afford the $3,000 rent, right? I've seen in Detroit where when I first bought my this house, I have a fourplex out there, and when I bought it, people were paying like $400 and $500 for rent. Now in that same area, which is still a shithole area, like there's nothing built over there. And this is part of why we've bought more land, because we have some, plans to build. But even in that area, with nothing new built, they're now looking for rents closer to $700-800, and you still have people who are making $25,000-30,000 a year, but their rents are doubling. And so where is that? Where does that intersection come to a head that is unsustainable to continue building, developing and building unaffordable homes for the average American person? Well, much less the average American Black person who still is suffering from pay gap, asset, a lack of assets, right? And a lack of education around how these economic pieces actually come together. So, and we're still going out and getting these college degrees. So we're getting into debt, which puts us in a situation where we can't finance a home anyway, because our debt to income ratios are off.
I always tell people we got to be careful with our language, but language is very powerful. If you keep saying we're not speaking for all of us.
We're not speaking for all of us. We're speaking for the greater community of Black folks.
Remember, again, your enemy is not going to tell you the truth.
Okay.
He turns around and tells you the percentage, these numbers, those numbers are not that accurate. There's a lot of Black wealthy people, whether you believe it or not, in a whole. I was sitting in a situation just recently with one of my buddies. He comes in, and I don't want to say he's very well off. He's one of our 1%ers. But he's sitting in the room with me side by side, and they're having this same conversation about we can't afford, and he didn't even bat an eye. And this is one of the wealthiest people I know. He never blinked, and he never said, well, hey, that doesn't cover me. So he just, like most people that have money, want to blend in and be normal. So they're not going to say, oh, that's not true. Just like me, I'm the one who stepped out first and said, well, that's not true. None of this is true. We do have money. We're doing great. But I want to say this. Back in the days, you heard of the horse and buggies?
Yes.
Our parents, the great ancestors all had horses and buggies and stuff before this thing called an automobile came out. And then all of a sudden, when this thing called an automobile came out, a lot of people said, I ain't going to mess with no dang automobile. I'm going to keep old Bessie. She's been around for years. She's always reliable for us. We don't need an automobile. But guess what? Here we go decades later. Now everybody's like, what's a horse and buggy? You see what I'm saying? Because everybody got automobiles. So one day we're going to be saying, job, what's a job? What's a college education? What do you mean, what is that? Because you know why? Because when you look around the country, there's this new thing called the internet. And internet-based businesses are taking over. Then they came out with this thing called home-based businesses. And now the home-based businesses are turning into the workspaces. They're pulling the home-based businesses out of the houses and putting them like our good brother Nipsey. He bought the Vector. He created the Vector to bring to our community, hey, come on, home-based businesses. Come on, up-and-coming businesses. I got an office space for you. It's just a cubicle. Be surrounded by other entrepreneurs. So what's going on all around the country is the internet era is finally catching up to us, where so many people have created millions and billions of dollars from the internet. I came in personally and realized that someone introduced me to this thing called the internet, which also had this thing called eBay back in my days, and said, I studied eBay, and I realized, why am I trying to sell stuff that everybody else is selling when there's so much stuff on here that nobody's selling? So I was the first to put chrome lowrider suspension parts on there. I was the first to put so many remanufactured lowrider car parts on there, and I quickly became a power seller to the point they shut my account down because you have to be doing something illegal to make so much money so fast. But that experience changed my whole life to make me say, do I really need all these brick and mortars? Do I really need all these employees when I can just sit at home and me and my daughter stuff boxes and ship internationally? Mm-hmm. So we are getting caught up with the international stage. You have people they're building high-rise buildings all over the country. They're gutting them out. They're building them and leaving them vacant, open. And they're coming in, people like Regency, all these, we do something.
We work.
We work. Yeah, we work. These models are popping up all over the country, buying whole floors. This whole floor on the 13th floor is WeWork, and we're going to rent office space and sell cubicles at $1,000 a month. So we'll go in there and pay $30,000 for the whole floor, and we'll build it out ourselves and make $200,000 a month renting individual cubicles to up-and-coming business owners who are doing this thing called drop shipping and who are talking internationally. Right. And giving presentations and we provided them workspaces to do all these amazing things to help them make money. But yet we still have us as a people talking about, I'm gonna go take that 200, 300 and drop it into an education and say, my baby comes from whatever black school that I graduated from. It's not even about, it's like, is he working? Where's he working at? Is he working in the field that he got his degree in? No, it's not even about that anymore. It's not even, nobody even talks about where their baby work at. All I know is he went to this college and I'm proud of him. I'm like, can he afford to purchase a home? Is he a homeowner? Because this matters. We have to look at what matters. So I was in a expo the other day, a college expo, and this whole panel discussion was beating down regular people. People who go to our college is the smartest people ever. And I asked them, you got all these young people that's on the panel at no more than 30 years old. And I knew by knowing business, you guys don't own homes. I already knew it in my mind. So when they start challenging people, I asked them, I said, are you guys homeowners? Not one of the 4 or 5 was homeowners.
Right.
And then they felt like, oh, now why are you bullying us? Because you guys are out there sticking your chest out, asking for it. You're talking to the wrong person. So my point is, we have to pay attention to what's working and what's not working. You can't no longer say, well, I spent $200,000 and yes, she's in debt, but she got the degree. That don't mean nothing no more.
Right.
Because that degree is a lot of homelessness. People are homeless with degrees nowadays, living on Skid Row all around the country. So we have to look at models that are working. Well, he can't really read, but he owns a fourplex and he's bringing in $500,000 a year. And he's living very well. He's actually buying 4 more, but he's learning how to read online now. You know what I'm saying?
No, I'm in 100% alignment with you there. And so let's circle back around to that college piece, because I think that's really important. I spoke to it and I'll continue to speak to it because, like I said, I'm a living example of the damage from a financial perspective that college has done, right? So you go out, I went out, I got a master's degree. I have about $70,000, getting probably close to about $80,000 in student loan debt. And even with a master's degree, getting offered jobs that are paying about $60,000 to $70,000, looking at things like debt to income ratios, where right here in Colorado and Denver, you need to be making at least $90,000 to really qualify for anything, worth having. I have 3 children. I'm not just going to go out and get a 1 or 2 bedroom home, but you do have these 1 and 2 bedroom homes, or that are selling for $500,000, and they've gentrified historical Black areas and things of that sort. Now, I'm not from here, so I don't have some of the perspective that others who have been here for their whole lives have, but I've been here long enough to have seen the changing of the landscape. And one of the things that I look at is exactly what you mentioned earlier, which is that you now have rich white people who can pay for college outright, who are still saying not worth the investment, right? And so I find that, one, again, we're behind on the curveball, on the 8 ball rather, with understanding that. And so we're still pushing this message of college education versus financial literacy, let's say, and versus understanding business ownership versus understanding investments. And so we're doing that. And then, the other piece that I find is that when you are getting your degree, we're lacking strategy. And we're lacking network. So even if I were to go and get a degree, what is the strategy for that when I come out with all that debt, when I come out with, with a piece of paper, but I don't have the networks to ensure that I get into those higher paying positions, or that I don't have the network, to use that.
Let's go in on that real quick. We're not saying college is bad for those of you who are listening. We're saying going in just to make mommy and daddy proud of you because you didn't want them mad at you is not enough. We want you to go in with a strategy. You can't go in and take something that's going to land you a job making $40,000. You ain't going to be able to survive out here. Go in. We need doctors. We need lawyers. We need real estate brokers. So when you go in, don't come home looking for a job at a fancy white building. Come home and start a business in the Black community. I wish someone would have came home to me earlier and said, TJ, I see you over there building lowriders. I heard about all these endeavors and things you're going through. Can I have an office space in the back? I know you're not using that room back there. And we create TJ and Associates. You know what I mean? And I'm only going to start off at $50,000. So can I make money off of your friends? I know you got some guys that got in trouble. I know you got some guys that that own some real estate. So we have to stop looking down on the small Black business and looking. You don't have to have a high-rise building to bring in 6 and 7 figures a year. You can have a little hole in the ground, two-car garage on the commercial street, making 6 and 7 figures a year also. Most people don't understand that, who's coming home with a degree, because what I don't like about education centers, they'll paint a picture of this is what success looks like. And that's not true. It's false. So that's why I have a problem with so many educated people coming home telling me I'm not a real business. What do you mean I'm not a real business? You don't have a website, TJ. Hold on, I was around before there was internet. What are you talking about? TJ, you don't even have a credit card machine. Hold on, man. I was around before there was a credit card machine. What are you talking about? So they're told what the success looks like, and that's why they're told about percentages of it's hard to start a good business. Why do you know about how hard it is to start a good business, but you don't know how easy it is to make money off a business, So what I wanted to say, you said something a second ago that I really wanted to touch on. We have people every day that cannot afford to buy what they heart desire. They have 4 children and they want a 4-bedroom, hypothetically speaking, right? But the reality is their money says they can only afford a 2-bedroom. I prefer you to buy a 2-bedroom house than for you to go out and rent a 5-bedroom house. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
You want to buy that 2-bedroom house because today it's going to be worth what $200,000 or whatever your money qualifies you for. And tomorrow, after this gentrification is halfway in, that house will be worth $500,000, $600,000, $700,000. So then you can take that money and roll it into some land and learn how to build. So instead of us all going off to school to try to be doctors, which, by the way, they're even watering down the doctors and singling out the African-American doctors to get them out of these high-paying careers. They're giving doctors a hard time, and doctors don't talk about that. They don't want to come out and let you know that their world is not what it really looks like. So my thing is, this is a quick blueprint. For those of you who are in college, quit coming home looking for a job. Find Black business owners in your community and partner with them and tell them, hey, I'm a doctor. Hey, I'm a lawyer. Hey, I'm a dentist. Do you have an office space that I can go in and we can partner up with? And I guarantee you'll be much more happy. You'll be a lot happier, and you'll be able to help our community. And it's a powerful situation to have a Black doctor in the neighborhood. that we can speak to. You could turn around and create interns and start doing trainings and things like that, helping us to see, oh my God, I want to be a doctor because Dr. such and such, he's giving me $5 and $10 a day to take his trash out for the last 5 years. You know, we need these people to be in the community. Business owners have always been the black pillars of the community.
Mm-hmm.
I'll talk on that.
What you're touching on is one area of cooperative economics that I think we don't highlight enough, you know, is how do we work together for the come up of everybody, right? Like if I come in and I take your office space that you're not using, that helps me lower my costs and get my business started. It helps you lower your costs and keep your business going. And that is, you know, part of cooperative economics. One of the things that I just talked about, we did a secure the bag workshop, myself and buytheblock.com. We did a secure the bag workshop, and I spoke to even, you know, distributive cooperative economics or cooperatives that we can build, where if I'm a doctor and I've linked up with, you know, 2 other doctors and a couple of dentists, can we form a cooperative to go in and buy our supplies in bulk so that we, you know, lower that price and have that bigger price margin? We're not looking for the opportunities that we can work together in order to decrease expenses in places and increase our profit margins. Even without raising prices, if you decrease the expenses, you create this bigger profit margin, right?
We have to think bigger.
Go ahead.
We have to think bigger than let's go buy in bulk. We have to, like back in the days, I was towing a lot of cars with my lowrider shop, and a lot of my friends was towing a lot of cars. So instead of us saying, hey, let's go in and ask for group discounts, you know, that's what you're basically saying. Let's go to the people that don't like us, that's wondering how are we even making money, that keeps raising the prices against us, and give them a whole bunch more money as a collaborative. Well, that's cool and dandy, but we don't want to do that. I came in and said, you know what? I just found out we can buy these tow trucks for $50,000 a piece, and we can all put our money, and we start buying tow trucks. And here we go, 20 years later, African Americans dominate tow truck companies, shipping car carrier companies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And most of those guys who got in with it, they're all multimillionaires, and some of them are billionaires. That is the norm. So we want to start manufacturing things. So again, I went down a list. I had a grocery list of everything I spent money on in low riding: paint shops, body shops, mechanic shops, transmission, muffler, et cetera, rims, tires. And I started finding out, what does it cost to create these kind of businesses? What is it going to cost to start a paint shop? Oh, it's only $5,000. All we need is a building. Okay, I got $5,000. Little Johnny, you're good at messing with cars. Here, I want you to start a body shop over here. I'll put the money up because you're going to save me $1 million a year by spending 10 grand up front. You hear what I just said? You're going to save me 10 grand, $1 million a year because I'm going to invest 10 grand. You'll be surprised when you start manufacturing things, how much things actually cost. You know, it brings the values down. So that's why I strongly encourage manufacturing. And if they don't know how to go about it, that's why I give these training classes. I teach these things. Manufacturing makes the difference between you becoming a millionaire and a billionaire. In fact, people look at me crazy and say, I can't believe you dropped out of your lowrider shop. Well, they didn't realize I fell back because I'm a manufacturer. The money I was making in building cars and all of that, I found out that I can make so many parts and ship parts around the world and make the same money with less headache. And that's the most important part. It's not about, I don't want hard money. I want sit back and earn the money and sit back and enjoy the money.
Right. And don't get me wrong, I am in agreement with the manufacturing piece. What I'm looking at is, if I'm a practitioner, you know, I'm not necessarily looking to manufacture, right? But do I believe that manufacturing should be inside of our community? So if I see that we have an increase of, you know, people in our community, or not even necessarily people in our community, because that in and of itself is a thought process that has to be that needs to be shifted in our community, is thinking that our end user always has to look like us, right? But when I see a need for being able to create something or manufacture something, I wholeheartedly believe that we should get into those places. What I look at is where our trends currently are, and we need to shift where our trends are in terms of what types of businesses that we're producing. But currently, the types of businesses that we're producing, you know, I feel like we have to attack it at both angles. Our economic gap is so wide. I think that we have to, look at the variety of different ways that we can begin to attack it. And so manufacturing is one, distribution channels is huge. We really don't get into, the distributing, things, right, that get to our community. And then we have to look on the practitioner side, or on the retail side, or on the service inside, and ask, where are we able to participate better in those areas? Because when we get to talking about higher prices in the Black community as being one of the issues for why we don't support Black-owned businesses, then we are reminded that, one, we are being kicked out of those areas, or we are being locked out of the best pricing, and we don't control the distribution, and we don't control the manufacturing. So
we do in some areas. It's not common in most, but remember, most people don't own businesses. We do. Remember, I just said I bought tow trucks. That's distribution. We were distributing the cars that we were building and buying. That's distribution. And I teach distribution classes because I noticed how they're pulling us away from that, where Amazon and eBay said, oh, you don't have to ship it internationally. You just ship it to our shipping center in Texas, and we'll ship it to the UK for you. When all it is a couple of extra buttons on the computer and paste the label to ship it to the UK. But they're watering us down from the international shipping, from the distribution part, to where we don't even know what is priority mail versus regular mail.
So y'all hear that? That means that when you want to have a better understanding of distribution and really get into that industry, if I'm hearing you correctly, that's something that you teach.
Absolutely. Anything entrepreneurship I teach. And all this old drop shipping. I hate people say, oh, I want easy. It's so easy. I don't have to do anything. That's stupid. People say, okay, now I just recently wrote this book, Monetizing Gentrification. I find out most people who wrote a book in their lifetime of the book have only sold 200 books. They write the book and they put it on Amazon, and then they realize they're not making any money really. But they're so happy because Amazon does everything. They're getting 85% of the proceeds. But here's where they're messing up. Now they look at me. I come into the play. I say, I'm not using Amazon because I believe strongly in the Black bookstores. I want a relationship with all the Black bookstores. I find out there was over 500 Black bookstores before Amazon came into play. Amazon comes in, wipes everybody out. Now we don't even know that there are Black bookstores. People are looking at me to the point I had to list all my Black bookstores that sell my book. And every time people shows up at my presentations, which by the way, I only want to speak at Black bookstores and Black businesses when given a presentation. And every time I do that, everybody that comes into the room says, I've never been here before. I did not know this Black bookstore that's been here for 50 years was here.
Right.
I hear that so commonly, and they're buying things up. I'll be back here. Oh, you do other events also. Oh my God. Like they just popped up off.
Right.
Amazon kills a lot of Black businesses. It kills a lot of our knowledge of understanding. So now I have to do my own distribution. I sit here and pack books on the regular, stuffing them in boxes. Okay, well, this one's going to the UK. Okay, well, this one's going to Asia. Okay, well, these are going, now I'm in a situation where I can turn around and say, hey, I got $60,000. I want to go buy a plane or something, put down 60 on the plane that it could take my shipments to the larger countries that's shipping them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Okay, I can buy my own truck and do my own post office because I'm shipping so many books, and I'm shipping my friends' books as well now. Because I'm in position to do that, I understand it and I know how to do it because I do it every day. But your average person who wrote a book and put it on Amazon don't know none of that.
Right.
They can tell you everything about an Amazon platform, but can't tell you nothing about anything else. Like, how do you ship them? Do you have an email address of the person who bought it? Do you know where they are, what state they're in? Can you get in contact with your Amazon buyer in the UK? Oh, no, Amazon takes care of all that. See, I want to call the Amazon buyer and find out that, oh, my God, you're the biggest Black bookstore in the UK? Can I come over there and speak? Oh, you want to retain my services as a speaker, and you're going to fly me over there to the UK and put me in a hotel and have me speak because I'm an expert on gentrification and I wrote the book? We're going through that over here. I didn't know there were Black people that knew about gentrification in America. So it is so important that we communicate, because money is not necessarily our problem. Communication is our problem in the Black communities. If we communicate it, we will find out we have plenty of people with a whole lot of money, but a lot of them don't know what to do with it.
That's a whole nother situation right there. We're gonna have to have you back on the show to talk about that one. So first, let me, I want to give you an opportunity to make sure that you let everyone know where to find you again. I think that, so let me just, again, hold up this book. And like I said, he has it there in the back. So you want to grab this book, and the link will be in the description. It talks about, the ways that you can begin to make money in the current economic climate that we're in. This is happening. We're not in a position to stop it. It's happening, but we need to know how to get our footing inside of, what's happening ourselves as a community and as individuals. And so, before I let him have his last word, I just want to, thank you for coming on. And I want to make sure that you have hit that subscribe button, that you've hit that like button, that you have shared out this information. Make sure that you follow us at BBI Professional. You can follow me at Jice Johnson. That is on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So make sure that you head over there and take care of that. If you are listening to this podcast, make sure you head over to YouTube at BBI Professional and subscribe there so that you can see this live. All right. So give us your last word. Make sure everyone knows how to find you. And again, I just want to thank you, because the insight and the perspective that you're coming from, I think, is very much needed, and is planting those seeds for people to start asking better questions and to begin thinking and looking for opportunities, and then coming back to the resources that we have within our own communities to help us figure out what our options are and how we can begin to, move our options forward. So let everyone know how to find you and give us your last word.
I'll be okay. My name is Thomas TJ Loftin. I'm the author of Monetizing Gentrification, Building Black Ownership. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Please subscribe on YouTube. Please like on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. My website is thomastjlofton.com, and my phone number is area code 310-619-3954 if you're interested in coachings, trainings, or consulting, or bringing me out to speak. And I have a speaking engagement. I'll be in California until the 22nd of next month. I have a couple of amazing events here. Then I'll be at Community Book Center in New Orleans, Louisiana on May 25th. And then after that, I will be in Atlanta, Georgia on June 2nd throughout the 15th. I'll be at the Shrine of the Black Madonna doing a presentation and book signing on June 7th. And I'll also be included in an event on the 8th, etc. I'll be on the East Coast. So if you'd like me to come out and speak somewhere while I'm on the East Coast from New York all the way down to Florida, please call me and reach out to me. Or if I'm when I'm in Louisiana, Alabama, all of those states are surrounding. Please reach out again at 310-619-3954. Thank you.
All right.
To close us out, real estate, family, do not be distracted. I don't care if you just buy a piece of land or an apartment building. Buy some real estate while you can afford it, family, because they used to say that stuff is dirt cheap. Well, you say dirt is dirt cheap anymore, because it's not. You know what I'm saying? It ain't dirt cheap. It's not cheap at all. Land is expensive. So buy some while you can, family.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on. And all right, y'all, until next week. Peace.